Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. Got another episode of the Guides Network. Today we're going to go in depth on my favorite finesse offshore summertime bass catching machine of a technique. Today we're going to talk about fishing a finesse shaky head. All right guys, so summertime is a great time to go fishing offshore. Use those electronics to locate those fish. Some days they bite real good when you find them, some days they kind of don't. And a lot of times that's those days when you have the real bright skies and real calm winds. As you can see, we've got a little bit of ripple at this point in the day, but we're 2:30 in the afternoon. The wind should be blowing. Really not much wind today, and for most of the day today, there was almost zero wind whatsoever. And what's ironic is you guys watched the video Monday where it was blowing like crazy. Of course, we filmed that last week. Now, ever since those couple windy days, we've had almost no wind for almost a week straight now. When the wind doesn't blow at all and the bite gets a little tough, other than suspended fish, which is a whole different ballgame, we'll do another video on, my best bait to catch them, okay, is going to be a finesse shaky head. When I say finesse shaky head, I'm just talking about a lighter weight one, 1/4 ounce shaky head. The shaky head that I'm going to use is going to be the Divine shaky head from 6 Sense Fishing. That's a 1/4 ounce shaky head right there. As you can see, one thing I love about these shaky heads from 6 Sense, great stand-up head, great screw lock. You can find that in a multitude of shaky heads. But this hook, this extra wide gap EWG heavy gauge hook, allows me to fish a shaky head the way that I need to, the way that I want to, in this heavy cover environment that I fish in East Texas with all these big bass. Having that bigger hook allows me to fish a little bit heavier rod, a little bit heavier line, allows me to really get after that fish, control him, get him up away from that cover when I need to. That being said, a 1/4 ounce bait isn't very heavy. So we are going to tone down the gear some from what we say on a big perm when we're throwing a big shaky head or a big offshore 3/4 ounce hybrid jig or anything like that. We are going to scale down our gear somewhat. And that is important. You've got to be able to have outstanding feel, sensitivity anytime you're fishing a finesse bait, and especially a finesse bait that you're dragging, okay? Your sensitivity and your feel is of utmost importance. For me, the rod is the most important part of the equipment, and the rod that I'm using is the 6 Sense Sensory Series. It's the 7.4 medium heavy in that line. This rod marries the right amount of backbone and control over the fish, but still has a limber enough tip, for me to throw that 1/4 ounce bait a long ways, and B, it's the perfect amount of rod strength and tip blend to set the hook correctly on that 1/4 ounce shaky head. This is the most important part of what I'm doing, is this rod right here. By the way, guys, you'll hear a lot of 6 Sense stuff. We got a 6 Sense worm coming up. We got the shaky head. We got the rods. Anything you go order from 6sensefishing.com, which is linked in the description as always, be sure when you order something, punch in that code, your Lake Fork Guide. You'll get a 10% discount on all orders. All right, for line, I'm going to go 15-pound fluorocarbon. I'm not going to go my standard 20. Normally I throw 20 on most everything that I'm dragging out deep. I'm going to go 15-pound. This is a light bait. We're going to throw finesse plastics on it. We're going to get to those in a minute. I do not want to overpower the action of the bait by having too stiff of a line. And you can do that if you get up in that 20-pound range. 15-pound line is still a really strong line, but seems to be the right blend. That's what we're looking for here with the rod and the line and all that, is the right blend to where we can have as much control over these fish in the heavy cover as possible, but at the same time, we're presenting the best action to get the most bites as possible. Because here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, guys, you got to get them to bite. You got to get them on before you can get them off. So don't worry about breaking off. Do what you got to do to make the fish bite, then we'll figure out how to land them. That being said, I want to do as much as I can to control the fish. This is the right blend. This rod, 15-pound fluorocarbon line, that's the right blend for me. Anytime I'm throwing a dragon bait, I'm using a high-speed gear ratio reel. This is a 7.5-to-1 Lew's Hyper Mag. Great reel. 15-pound line, it has enough line capacity. I can make super long casts. The one knock on the Hyper Mag is it doesn't have great line capacity with 20-pound line. But with 15-pound line, thinner diameter, I can get a lot more line on there. I can actually make as long a cast as I need to, have no problems on line capacity, and you won't find a smoother or more lightweight reel on the market than the Lew's Hyper Mag. This one, as you can see, all the finish has been kind of, it's caught like 8.7 million bass, give or take 100,000, you know what I'm saying? And it still casts, it still operates like it's brand new out of the box as far as the smoothness of it. It's unbelievable reel. All right, so let's talk about the baits that we're going to use on here. So the main bait, I mean the bait that I'm going to use like most of the time, okay, is going to be the 6 Sense Divine Shaky Head worm. This worm and this jig head were designed together for each other. They're designed to go together. They fit perfectly. They mesh perfectly. I'll rig one up for you right now. But straight tail worms are really hard to beat. The deal is you've got to stand up. Man, my hands are sweaty. Boys, it's hot. It's real hot today. The deal with straight tail worms is all these stand up shaky heads are designed to stand that worm up. And having one, the straight tail worm just stands up and presents the best action in that scenario, okay? So you want to get you a straight tail worm. I like this one from 6 Sense, like I said. This is watermelon blue. That's probably my favorite summertime color around East Texas. Green with blue flake. Okeechobees are good. Anything green with blue flake is good, man. There's something about that in the summertime. I have a lot of confidence in it. It's gotten a lot of bites over the years for me. But there's my rig right there. Make sure you rig that worm perfectly straight. So once I got that screwed into the screw lock, that worm, see that worm? Not coming off there. Love that screw lock. Then I'm going to line it up like this right here. I'm going to line it up and mark where it lays naturally at the belly of the hook. I'm going to stick the hook through the worm right there where I marked that, all the way through like this. See, it's all the way through. Then we're going to bunch the worm up and skin hook it back in there so it lays perfectly straight, perfectly flat, perfectly weedless, but I've only got a little bit of plastic to come through when I set the hook. Now, the one other bait that I will throw on these 1/4 ounce shaky heads, which is when it's super tough, like when I want to go as finesse as I can go on a shaky head, I actually take out an impact shad and put it on a shaky head. And my bite, the average size of fish I catch does tend to go down, but when I just can't get bites and there's fish anywhere near the bottom of an offshore structure, man, this bait always seems to come through for me. When it's standing up on a shaky head, you can imagine with that little thin joint, what that tail is just sitting there quivering behind it, right? So very subtle, very finesse, very lifelike action on the impact shad on a shaky head, which I've never heard anybody else talk about except for one other customer of mine. So pretty good deal. It works. All right, I'm going to show y'all the best I can, the knot I tie. It's going to be hard for y'all to see it, but we'll do the best I can. So we're going to take our main line. We're going to go through here and create about a 6 to 8 inch tag. We're going to tie an overhand knot around the main line, okay? Just an overhand knot. And we're going to hold it open like that right there. Hopefully that's showing up. Then I'm going to wrap up the main line 3 times. I'm going to wrap down the main line 3 times. Okay. Then I'm going to take my tag in. I'm going to go back through my overhand knot that I'm still holding open. Right there, just like that. I'm going to get it wet. And then I'm going to pull from all 3 sides, the tag in, the main line, and the shaky head. And it's a nice tight knot. This is called the Homer circle knot. It's the knot I always tie for fluorocarbon unless I'm tying a loop knot for a jerkbait or a topwater. But other than a loop knot, that's the knot I always tie on fluorocarbon. It's the strongest fluorocarbon knot I found. Again, that's something I do a little different. I don't know a lot of people that tie that knot. But as far as fluorocarbon goes, that Homer circle knot is the best knot that I found. All right, so now we're all rigged up. I got you rigged up. You're ready to go. You're ready to make a few casts with a shaky head. What type of areas are we going to want to throw this shaky head in? Well, you know, when we get in the summertime, it's all going to depend on your electronics. And we are going to do some electronics videos coming up over this summer. But that's the key deal, guys. It's all about the electronics. If you watch the video next Monday, I kind of show you guys a lot of what I'm looking at on the electronics as I go through my day on the water. Wherever you can mark fish. Now, that may be a main lake point. I will say it's going to tend to be in the summertime a lot more main lake oriented with this Finesse shaky head. We're talking about main lake points. We're talking about humps, pond dams, road beds, creek channel bends, stuff out on the main lake where these fish are going to be able to change depths quickly. As the thermocline builds in, they're going to want to move up and down in the water column as that occurs. So, and just generally speaking, as the days get hotter and hotter, those fish are going to want access to the deepest water they can get in without having to travel very far, because as summertime progresses on and their metabolism picks up, because they're cold-blooded creatures, so the hotter it is, the higher their metabolism runs. Efficiency becomes more and more important to a fish the hotter it gets. So the hotter it gets, the more they're going to look for those sharp, steep drops where they can go deep to shallow, shallow to deep without wasting as little energy as possible. So look for those big drop-offs with the flat spots on top and the right depth that you're seeing life in that day on your electronics. Graph those. When you find something that's got some bass on it, man, pull the shaky head out and make some casts. Now I'm going to get up here on the front deck, and it's about the easiest bait on earth to work, but I'm going to get up here and walk you through it anyway. Okay, so we've pulled up kind of on the side of a main lake point here. There's a few tires out here. There's a couple of brush piles, but this is just a main lake point. Now, we grabbed some fish on this earlier today. I didn't grab it this time. I just pulled in here to do the instructional. So I have no idea whether I'll get a bite here or not. But we did see some fish on this point earlier today. Now, this point kind of runs out this way and it runs off to the side of me right here. So I'm gonna make a long cast kind of at a quartering angle where I can come across the top of that slope. It's important to make as long a cast as possible. That's always important when you're fishing a shaky head. That's always important when you're fishing deeper water offshore structure. You gotta get that line way on out there, keep that bait in a strikeable position as long as possible. So once I made that cast, if you notice, I stripped a little bit of line there and make that bait fall straight down and not pendulum back towards me. Okay, now I'm simply gonna reel my slack in and I'm gonna start dragging. Now, when it's flat calm and there's no wind, I like to drag with my rod in this position right here. This position is gonna give me the very most sensitivity. I'm gonna feel the bites, I'm gonna feel everything on the bottom better, and my bait's gonna kind of climb over obstacles on the bottom, root systems, rock, shell, tires on this spot, brush. If I have my rod in that position, my bait's gonna tend to climb over that better. Now, if the wind does blow a little bit, which it is blowing a little bit right now, not much, but if the wind's blowing, I'm having a hard time feeling that because the wind's blowing slack in my line, I'll point my rod down and drag down into the side. Here we go, here we go. Look at there, how about that on cue? Oh, it's a decent one, it's a keeper fish. Boy, he's mad too, good night, son. Well, as you can see, it's pretty effective. Good night, this fish is pulling. I'm gonna push my button and throw my spool a little bit here because this fish is really wanting to dig on me. Okay, now he's coming back up. Now he's coming back up. Get him going. Get him on in here. Nice fish. Nice fish. And there we go, guys. That's how the shaky head works. Just do it like that. Throw it out there, drag it right into one's mouth, and then lean when he leans. You know what I'm saying? Good fish. One thing I love about that screw lock, if it wasn't for that screw lock, that fish would have thrown that worm off there. No doubt about it. He completely tore out the side. But here's a little tip right here. So when they tear the side of your worm out like this, you don't have to, normally you throw that worm away, right? With a screw lock, you just turn it another quarter to half turn. Okay. Get it right behind that torn spot. Get in right behind there. Need a little bit more turn on there. Turn it just a little bit more. Okay, now I got the good side up. We'll get in right behind that torn spot. And that's not the straightest worm, but that'll probably work to get another bite if there's another one up there. But anyway, as I was saying, strip a little line, let that worm get all the way on the bottom, drag it up if you can, as long as you can feel it. But if you're having a hard time, like right now the wind's picking up a little bit, so it's putting a bow in my line. So that's when I'm gonna turn and start dragging it down to the side. Just drag it nice and slow. Now, as you saw what we just did right there, we got that bite, boom, he hit it hard. I pointed my rod at him, slowly reeled up my slack. Is he there? Is he there? Yeah, I feel him moving with it. Go ahead, and then I always get that right foot behind me so I can step back and get a big hook set to my right shoulder. I see a lot of people stand like this and try to set the hook, or even try to stand like this and try to set the hook. That's no good, guys. You've got time. When you feel a tap, I also see people a lot of times, when they feel tick, they want to swing right away. You don't have to do that. Drag that bait. When you feel that tick, point your rod at him, reel up your slack, feel for him, he's there, get that right foot behind you, and then big sweeping hard hook set. That's what you want with a shaky head. That worked out pretty well. We caught one right there. Hopefully these shaky head tips will help you. I know it's a bait that I certainly lean on. When things get slicked off calm, miserable hot, the bite gets stupid tough, man, this little finesse shaky head has saved my days more times than I can count. And as you saw right there, if there's a fish up there, they bite it. I mean, it's a very, very, very effective bait. All right, hey guys, thanks very much for watching today. I certainly hope these tips help you like we said earlier. Hey, go check out 6centsfishing.com. The shaky head, the worm, the rod, everything that I'm using for the setup you can find at 6centsfishing.com. When you do, punch in that code, your Lake Fork Guide, get that 10% discount on all orders. Also, please go check out Lose. All the reels that I use are Lose. I'm on the water anywhere from 250, 300 days a year most years. I usually have 2 to 3 people using my gear at any one given time on those 200. Like, my gear gets used as much or more than anybody on earth. And I've never had a Lose break down. Every single Lose that I've ever had is still in operation, still casting like it's brand new. I've never had any go down on me, so I can't recommend Lose fishing equipment enough. All right, that's gonna do it for today. You guys get out there, put that shaky head to use, go catch more and bigger fish, and we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.